come on, come on, come on. Oh, not again. Hey, you still good for that IT roadmap meeting? Hey, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do this IT meeting. I'm swamped with work at the minute. Can we reschedule this? You know, business owners that are putting off their IT meetings are way more likely to have an IT issue. Yeah, but everything works fine at the moment. The emails come in, the staff can do their job. Yeah, and that's the main problem. IT doesn't really give you a polite warning before something breaks. Well, if that happens, we'll just call you. But you don't even have a proper disaster recovery plan. You know, emergency cover is more expensive. Wait, that isn't included in the support. Planned maintenance will always be an emergency recovery. So putting off your IT is kind of like gambling. I guess so, but instead of chips, you're using client data and relationships. Have you been talking to my therapist? I'm not, but that sounds really good for you. You know what? Go write a proposal, come back, and we'll have a chat about our IT. That's what this meeting was about, but I'm going to ban the gambling websites. One step at a time, my friend. No. Deal with your company's IT before it's too late. So you've grown your business. You've won customers, hired staff members, invested in equipment, and put countless hours into building something that's successful. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Many companies spend years focusing on growth, but then neglect the foundations that support that growth. And when those foundations fail, everything comes falling apart. Not because your product isn't good enough or your marketing didn't quite reach your target audience. It's because that preventable IT issue has now just become a business issue. Now, this isn't going to be a technical video. I just want to run through the top 5 areas that every business should have covered. And that's because most IT disasters don't start with a sophisticated hacker. It's the small gaps that no one thought were urgent. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA. Imagine one of your employees receives an email that looks like it comes from Microsoft. It says their Microsoft 365 account password is about to expire. The user looks at the branding, the wording looks good, and so they click that link. They then enter their new password and carry about their day. But what they don't realise is that they've just given their credentials to a cybercriminal. The attacker immediately signs in and starts looking through their mailbox. They start reading conversations to find out who their customers are, who their suppliers are, and most importantly, who's in charge of the finance. A few days later, they use that same account to contact a customer to then redirect them to send the money to a different bank account. Now, relying on a password just isn't good enough anymore. They can get stolen, whether through phishing or data breaches. And if a password is your only line of defense, as soon as they have that, they have everything. So how do we prevent this from happening to your business? This is where multi-factor authentication comes in. Now, most services and applications offer this as a solution already, whether this be through a multi-factor authentication app, SMS, email, or a hardware token. This means that even if your password is compromised, the attacker would need your MFA as well. MFA is the highest impact security tool that any business can implement. And for a bonus bit of security, implement conditional access. Conditional access allows you to configure policies to be specific about who can access what account from where. You can be as specific as which devices, IP addresses, or countries you allow access to your data. Business backups. Let's imagine someone accidentally deletes a project folder. Just a simple mistake like that. Nobody notices at the time. Weeks pass, months pass, and all of a sudden a customer is asking for what happened in that project. The team starts searching. It's not in the recycling bin, it's not in version history, and it's nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, a mistake can become a real headache. Maybe your team can recreate this information, but that takes time, stress, and potentially customer confidence. When most people think about backups, they think about ransomware, when in reality, most data loss is down to human error. People delete things, they overwrite templates, they move files, and people make mistakes. And that's completely normal. So why isn't having a backup normal? So how could this data loss have been prevented? Well, they need a backup solution. Whether it's a cloud backup or local storage backup, either one needs to be tested. Don't just have backups, test them. There's no point having a backup strategy if you can't actually recover any data. Device protection. Imagine you're running a growing business with 20 plus staff members. Everything's working well. People are sending emails, documents are getting created, meetings are getting recorded. But what no one realizes is that there is a hacker inside the network. Maybe they found an old device that wasn't updated. Maybe they got access to a compromised account. or maybe they exploited a vulnerability within your network. The important thing is that attacker is spending time identifying how your business operates. They identify servers, backups, and most importantly, where you keep your most valuable data. Then on a Monday morning, your staff arrive into the office. They can't open files, applications are running slow, and everyone is greeted by a message saying that they need to spend currency to unlock their files. Your business has effectively ground to a halt. At this point, it doesn't matter how good your company is or how many customers you have, there becomes one very clear objective: get the business operational again. In reality, modern ransomware attacks rarely happen instantly. Attackers spend weeks or months within your network waiting for the right time to relaunch the encryption. The earlier this suspicious activity is detected, the sooner you can prevent it from spreading to the rest of the business. So how could this ransomware attack be prevented? At a very minimum, every device should have some form of antivirus installed, whether this be Microsoft Defender, Bitdefender, Sophos, or Sentinel-1. However, modern threats require more than just an antivirus, and this is exactly where EDR and MDR becomes vital for businesses. EDR solutions monitor suspicious behavior on devices. This can include unusual account activity, privilege escalation attempts, malicious scripts running, lateral movement across the network, and attempts to disable security controls. MDR takes this a step further by introducing security specialists to actually look at these alerts and decide whether it's something that needs to be actioned then and there. Think of it like antivirus blocking known threats, EDR identifying threats through suspicious activity, and MDR providing experts to look at this suspicious activity and take action. The goal is to detect and disrupt an attack long before it reaches the point where your team are reading a ransomware note on a Monday morning.
Aging devices.
Picture this: an employee has been struggling on a laptop for months. The battery barely lasts, applications take forever to load, the fan sounds like it's about to take off, and it occasionally just completely freezes on them. But because it keeps powering on, a replacement keeps getting kicked down the road. Then one morning, it just gives up. No fix, no workaround. That employee is now out of action. Meetings get postponed, deadlines are delayed, and work grinds to a halt while a replacement is sourced and configured. The problem is, most businesses ignore these issues because there's other priorities. The device isn't failing today, so it gets added to tomorrow's list. Now, how could we have prevented the downtime for this user? Well, there could have been a planned device replacement program where every aged device is replaced around 3 to 5 years. This allows for more annual budgeting and also standardizes the equipment that you use across the organization. Device monitoring could also be implemented to identify failing components before they completely give up. Replacing devices before they fail is usually much cheaper when considering the amount of downtime that can be caused. Documentation and password managers. Let's imagine one of your key employees is off tomorrow. They could be off sick, they could be on holiday, or maybe they've just left the business completely. Suddenly, you need access to the website, the broadband account, the domain registrar, the Microsoft 365 tenant, or another supplier's portal. You ask around the office and everyone gives you the same answer. Oh, Martin usually sorts that. The problem is, nobody actually knows which accounts exist, where the passwords are, which email addresses are being used, and who actually owns that service. A simple issue like this can become a major blocker for a business. If critical information only exists in one person's head, your business is carrying unnecessary risk. Businesses need systems, not superheroes. So how do we get this information out of Martin's head? This will be through centralized documentation and password managers. Have dedicated locations for information such as IT asset registers, supplier records, system documentation, recovery procedures, and network documentation. Use a password manager to share company information while keeping it secure. Something like Keeper, Bitwarden, 1Password, or LastPass. The right people should have access to the information that they need to complete their job without compromising security. Now here's the thing, most people are actually quite good at calculating the cost of their IT. They know how much they spend on laptops, how much they spend on Microsoft licensing, and what they paid last year for support, but they very rarely calculate the cost of downtime. Disruption, missed opportunities, staff sitting around unable to work, delayed projects, and frustrated customers. The most expensive IT problems are very rarely caused by the technology itself, but rather when the technology is no longer working. And to be completely clear, we're not talking around bad businesses, It's usually actually the opposite. Really good businesses often end in this situation because they're too busy. They're focused on winning customers, managing staff, delivering projects, growing revenue, and managing cash flow. IT very rarely feels urgent until it is. The challenge is these controls need to be put in place before the problem exists. If you had to take anything away from this video, it's this. Most IT disasters are preventable, not because you need to increase your budgets, but because you need to be more proactive in your approach. Make sure you have MFA enabled, reliable backups, protected devices, a replacement strategy for aging environments, along with a password manager and clean documentation. Because when something goes wrong, and something always goes wrong, the businesses that recover quickest aren't the luckiest businesses, they're the businesses that prepared. So I'd be interested to hear from you. Have you ever had an IT incident that's caused dramatic downtime for your business? What did it really cost you? And what would you do differently to prevent it from happening to you again? And if you're watching this and thinking, we need a more proactive approach to our IT, get in touch. We can help you understand where the gaps are, what risks are sitting in the background, and what practical steps you can take to improve your business. Deal with your IT before it's too late.